All right, what is up, everybody? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Welcome. I am Chris with Monsters Under Our Bed. We cover true crime, mystery to the missing. Today, we're going to be talking about the Delphi case. I'm going to have a co-host, Steve, from True Crime Web, who I'll introduce here in just a minute. But hope everyone's doing well. If you can hear me all right, please put a 1 in the chat. And so, of course, we've got a great show prepared for you. We got Steve did a recreation of the crime scene. I called him up this morning and asked him to see if he could put something together, and he came through. So please, if you're new to my channel or Steve's, I've got the link to his channel pinned at the top. And for those that are rewatch the show, it's always in the description of the video. So before we get started, we always like to give back by featuring the missing. So start with that. So today we have Brian Vladik Hazel, who I've featured many times. I think his family went to CrimeCon recently. He's been missing for over 2 years now. He went missing on November 6th. He was seen on camera with a coffee in his hand, which was in Orlando, Florida. And the last reported sighting was on November 15th near, I think, his apartments. He has not been seen since. He was 22 years old at the time he went missing. He's 5'8", 220 pounds. He's got blonde, brown hair, blue eyes. If you have any information, you can call 470-254-7000. And then we also got Jakara Lopez Moore. She is just 16 years old, went missing August 25th of this year. So not too long ago. She was last seen leaving her home in Rochester, New York. Let's see, is there a phone number on this one? No, but she's just 16 years old, 5'2", 120 pounds. If you have any information, you can call your local police department. And there's also an email down here, which is WNYMissingandUnidentified@yahoo.com. All right. Go ahead and close that and go ahead and introduce my co-host for today. Hey, Steve, how's it going, buddy?
Doing great, sir. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. As always, it's an honor to have you on here. Next week, I will, when I do my intros, I will have your kind of a preset thing for you. But for those that may be new to you, want to give a little background about yourself?
Sure. I'm retired law enforcement. During my career, I started off in the jail, went on the road, went into investigations, had SWAT training, was a member of SWAT team for up 10 years, and also became a state certified scene technician, and investigated everything from minor crimes up to homicides. And then after I retired, became aware of the web sleuth world and decided to become an ambassador for law enforcement. And we met up, and we've had a great collaboration, and I appreciate this.
Yeah, I think we've had a pretty good run. We did pretty well on the Alex Murdaugh case, had kind of did the same thing. And I think we were obviously with the Richard Allen case, if it goes to trial, which it seems like it may have, we'll be doing the same thing as much as we can. And it's very interesting to get, it's one thing to see these 2D images, but to actually see the recreation, it's amazing. And then with your expertise,
and we have to realize that we're just going by something that is reported to be so, that is
that's true,
referenced to by the defense attorneys and then through this news agency. But so regardless of what they saw and what the pictures actually depict, the same thing that would apply, that whatever steps we took for this, I would be able to duplicate from those photographs, pretty much whatever it is. So if we're off by something on this, because in fact we don't know exactly what law enforcement from their perspective is random, from the defense it's not random. And so we just had to see which way it was. But just want to throw that out there so people understand that I'm not saying that this is absolutely, but it is accurate to what was portrayed on the news.
Yeah. And I'm no, I've got a lot in here. Yeah, if you have anybody that's recently went missing, like a friend or family member, yeah, please email me. I am more than happy to feature them in an upcoming live show. That's what we like to do, is give back as much as we can on this channel. I'm blessed. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys. So I try to do as much as I can for you guys, because you do so much for me. So thank you so much. Thank you, Dandy Lioness, for your 9 months support. That's so awesome. We're so spoiled. Thank you, Steve and Chris. Thank you so much. Yes. Great way to support us. Super chats, Venmo. When Steve's on, we split everything 50-50 on these shows. And that goes towards our cold cases that we work on and stuff like this that we're going to show you here in just a minute. So thank you guys so much for the wonderful support. And let me hide this. So before we play the video, because there's still some people rolling in, I just noticed some things that I'll play. And we got some screenshots, and then we got the videos all lined up here in just a second. But let me see. I've got so much. But here's just kind of a screenshot. Now, we did work with sticks and everything. There's just kind of a starter visual just to kind of get an idea. Keep in
I wanted
mind,
to go out there and set everything up and do it with something that was absolutely just as straight and as and that had contrast value. And of course, Poo Noodles had that, and so I was able to do that with the mannequins as I went in carrying. And it's kind of unnerving walking into the wood carrying mannequins anytime near hunting season. But everything worked out well, and I was able to get everything staged, set up as close as, is everything absolutely, it's as accurate as I could get from what I saw with the sketches that were provided.
Yeah, Cindy's Fires. Sorry, Steve. If you got somebody, if you can email me the picture, if you got a picture of who is missing, I'm not sure it's a him, so I'm not sure your son or family member. If you can email me before the show ends, I'll dig up my email and I can feature him before we end the show. If he just went missing, so to get the word out, be more than happy to help you. So I will just let my mods know, and then when there's a good time, we'll check my email and we'll go ahead and feature him. Okay. So just one thing I wanted to mention before we play the video. So I was rereading the Frank's motion, and I kind of wanted to understand the actual order of the sticks and see if they actually mention how the order is placed. And they do actually mention it, at least for Libby, because I mean, Abby's pretty straightforward. But Libby, because there's a few things I had questions and concerns with, because Abby, yes, it does look like the Hegel symbol, but with Libby, what's going on here? And we have a couple theories, but one thing I wanted to mention is, as a matter of fact, now this is awesome that Court TV did this, but I realized that they actually have one of the sticks in the wrong spot. And so I'm going to go ahead and read what's in how it's worded. And I have the actual order of how they were placed. So as you can see, it says order of branches top to bottom. So number 4 is actually the first log, branch, whatever, to be placed down. That's the first one. Then the V is made. So that's 2 and 3. And then the long log branch would be the last one to be placed down. And that's according to this Frank's motion. It could be completely wrong, but according to their motion, this is how it's worded. But what's interesting is where this, would that be horizontal branch, where they have it is slightly in the wrong area. It's actually over her neck. And it would have probably rolled because that's the area your chest is kind of high. And Steve learned this when he was recreating it. And it actually says it in this. So I'll just say that, read this out, and then we'll get back to the video. So it says the last of the 4 branches, which is number 4. That's why I named it this way. extended across Libby's body from her right to left shoulder. This forked tree branch connected to the V branch, and it partially covered. The neck was partially covered by this fourth branch. So clearly they don't have it quite over the neck. So clearly I'm assuming they just, got that one little detail wrong. It's not a big deal, but I did notice that this would actually be moved up to the neck area. And Steve, you noticed that because of the chest and where the neck, that would have rolled either way, right?
Everything slid that way, natural, due to slope, the angle, incline, whatever how you want to describe the angle of the throat being lower than what the chest is. And if you put that number 4 branch on top or below, it would naturally go to that area of the throat.
Interesting. Okay, so I'm going to load up the video. I'm going to get these quickly. We got some super chats. I'm going to grab these, and then we're going to play the video. Jedi Platypus, I love that name. Thank you so much for becoming a member again and supporting the channel. You are so awesome. June, you are so awesome as well. Thank you so much for the $2.99 super sticker. Good to see you. I hope you're doing well. And that goes to everybody. And see, Sleuth Initiation. Hope you're doing well. Intuition. Oh, my dyslexic, man. I'll always say that. White Bulldog for your awesome crime scene tests and recreation presentations. The best. Thank you so much, White Bulldog. And Olivia, thank you for all you do. Thank you so much, Olivia. You are so awesome. And I think we're caught up. We've got mods. Let me know how the chat speed is. If we need to slow it down a little bit, just let me know. With that, we're going to go ahead and play the video. Like I said, we did a couple of different tests. So let me load her up.
Yeah, these are life-size mannequins, full size, so that everything that we do from placing of the branches, and then as the not have the spoiler, I won't go into what our final video is there.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Okay, chat speed's great. Okay, good deal. All right, we'll go ahead and play it. We've got a couple of videos set up. We did a couple. Well, you did a couple. I just edited. Yeah. So
yeah,
here we go.
I see you put some speed on me.
I did the first time, but then you know what comes up. So
I know.
Yep. And anytime you want to speak on anything, Steve, you go ahead, buddy.
Everything that I was gathering is in its natural environment. Nothing was staged. Nothing was posed and pre-laid. I walked around the scene, looked and found to create these. Of course, Chris has sped up this video. The following video is in natural. This isn't my normal pace right here. I can guarantee.
Yeah.
But
yeah, maybe I guess wait until the second one, and then that'll. This was kind of just a.
But even when I was doing what was reported as horns, whenever you get on up here in a minute, you'll be able to see that one of them stands out. The other one doesn't really at the top of the head of searching for those branches and things. But I tried to do everything. And I gathered everything up, all these 7 branches plus the reported horns. Probably everything was within 30 feet. And so I didn't have to go looking, and there's hundreds of branches and limbs.
Interesting. And I do show some of the crime scene, not the actual crime scene, but the location of where the crime scene was at. And it really mimics kind of that same area that you're in, which is really interesting. So the wind is actually, that's not wind, that's actually his drone, the propellers.
Yeah. I'm not scared to fly a drone in the forest. I've crashed, but
I'd be chopping down trees.
Creating this first one, like I said, and then moving around trying to get the other, and finding all the debris from the ground. Like I said, it's not hard to do.
Yeah. And then we also do a time trial as well. So this one's just kind of just a get an idea of what it looks like, what they would have came across, what trying to be respective. But that worked out perfectly because you had a whole mannequin and then a half mannequin. Is that correct?
Well, for some reason, I've lost half of another mannequin. I put jeans on and stuffed the jeans just with material so I could angle the legs more of what was reported in the image.
Mm-hmm.
Then I walked around so that you can see from all these different angles. And I have a lot more still images. And of course, we have a lot more video than just what we edited here. But, and it's important that for the fact that the different angles and different perspectives, wherever you're standing at, some of these things may change. The only thing that really didn't change, regardless of angle, was the asterisk. The other stuff, when you're looking at from different location, could disappear unless you're standing in a certain area and it takes on a significance. But otherwise, as you moved around the crime scene on those outer edges, it just didn't. Okay.
Yeah, so here's the time trial. So this is like I said, we got a couple of videos, and yeah, I agree, Sleuth. They do seem concealed, even when they're not, just with the logs or branches or whatever. And of course, as we don't know exactly how big these things are, but you grabbed just what was nearby. So I'm assuming this would be something pretty close. I mean, semi-accurate, as to, because you got the same environment. So, but yeah.
Yeah, this size branch in my area, which we're in Georgia, and it's totally different than Indiana. But although when you look at the two landscapes, as you'll see where Chris morphed the area where I was working with into the actual crime scene, the ground debris and the trees, leaves, everything is very similar, spaced out, and it's And so this is about the natural size, and you can see from the size of the different sticks I picked up, and of course there's hundreds of them, but and it didn't take long to find those.
Yeah, thank you so much, Curtis West. Appreciate the donation. Please show some love to Curtis. Helps us so much. And talk to Kel. Thank you so much for the $1.99 super sticker. Now we're gonna do the time trial. How long did it take him to cover the body with the wood? And then Steve did something else that we'll talk about after we do the time trial. Well, there's actually two time trials. And I am so sorry, Chris Davids. I know you asked about the closed captions. For some reason, sometimes StreamYard shuts it off, even though I turned it on. Usually I use Streamlabs for when I don't have a guest on. So my apologies for no captions.
Yeah, now this is in actual speed. This video that we're about.
Yeah, regular speed now. Yeah. Thank you so much, Sarah Tequila. She says hi all.
And this is my normal everyday way that I approach pretty much life. I don't get rushed about much of anything, and I wasn't rushed here for the fact that anytime you do anything, if you rush yourself, there's opportunity to hurt yourself. So I try not to hurt myself any more than I already do. But like I said, I just walked around, and in this type, and it would be the same because I've been to the Delphi crime scene, that you can look around. Everything is pretty visible, even with all the leaves and stuff, the ground debris. And so it's easy to move through. There's not a lot of ground clutter. And, so it was just, like I said, it doesn't take long to form these sticks and find them and move them. I mean,
Yeah. And like you said, so you didn't have these sticks. I mean, you can see you're cleaning off these sticks. So clearly, you're just grabbing.
Those sticks I'm breaking to size to
Uh-huh.
represent what the horns, because he said like horns, and so I shortened them. But all the other sticks I just picked up. That's what they look like naturally. They laid on the ground. All the leaves had fallen off. All the smaller limbs mostly
Yep.
were gone, and so I just went out and picked up some big, long, straight sticks. Where they came from, I don't know. And when I need to make two out of one, it's you see me work and build a fire. That's how I pretty well uh, break
Oh
a
yeah.
stick all day long.
Yeah. And so here we're about 2 minutes approaching, and you've got just about you've got Abby all the way done, and Libby, I think you've got 2 more sticks to go here.
Yeah, I went over there and didn't find what I want. Then I found this one. So this is one that went across the throat. That whenever you place it up there, it,
Yeah.
it's a natural. Actually,
Yeah, if you
to get
pause it right
tried, it was
there.
almost like it was a natural place of where you would place it. That if you were covering it, that's what you would where you would place one. And I didn't even know that it was up around the throat because I was going by
Right.
what you had sent me,
Yep.
and but during the time and not thinking about it, I just my instincts went place it across the throat.
Yeah, I guess we'll come back to that. But yeah, you can see where the stick would have naturally just rolled to the neck because you've got the chest kind of high up, and then obviously the neck would be the stopping point. Um,
Yeah, if my neighbors saw me, they think they
oh
think
yeah,
yeah. Mrs. Steve thinks it's weird of me in the first place to go there. 2 minutes 42 seconds.
not bad, not bad. But just to get an idea of what how long. Now this is something different. How long would it take to hide the bodies with leaves?
And I did
Uh,
this based upon I worked a case one time. I was on the road and I found a deceased bank robber that was probably reached being deceased by his former partner, and he was placed in a wooded area in a little depression, and he was covered up with leaves, and certain parts of this individual you could see, but I think our department had answered. The vehicle was parked alongside the road, and it was suspicious, and it had been reported probably 4 or 5 times during that week.
uh,
And then finally, I was dispatched there and read the note on the dash, saw the boots in the car, and thought about it and said that this isn't right. And so called for another officer, and we did a search of the area. And about 50 feet off into the wood line is where we came across the victim had been there for a week inside this little little sunken area and covered with leaves. And so
yeah.
it's something that I kind of mimicked with this.
Mm. All right. Yeah, let's go ahead and play it. I think this is interesting, especially when you see the end results, and then I do a before and after. Very interesting. This is where all at the end I blend in the crime scene area with your wooded area and show kind of the similarities to it.
And once again, you'll see as we get to this point here, but no rush, just going about, just taking the natural debris that's within 10 feet, just tossing it.
And it seems like this was kind of what was there. I mean, as far as at the crime scene,
Well,
looked like pretty
it's in
leafy.
the area now. I don't know what extent that he did or when he would have stopped. Mine was to see how long, if he wanted to, absolutely totally conceal them to the point that you probably wouldn't recognize them or recognize it as being a human unless you was within a few feet.
Uh-huh.
And that's the purpose of what I was trying to do here.
Right. Yeah, they found her clothes somewhere in the river. Her undergarment. Yeah, already. I mean, it
Oh
really
yeah.
it
The
looks
only thing
kind
that
of
was
natural.
sticking up was really the feet. Actually, I think on the guy I found, it was either a hand or a foot. That's what put me on him. But a minute and like less than 2 minutes, this is what it turns into.
So, but with both of them combined, basically less than 5 minutes. So you could say approximately 5 minutes if the environment's pretty close to this. Just for this, obviously, this doesn't incorporate the actual tragedy before, and I'm sure that would have been different. It
Yeah.
took some time.
Yeah. And I could have stopped at any point, but I wanted, like I said, I was doing a time trial that you could look and actually see that if it's only the top part of one of them, if you replayed that back, you'd see how long it took.
Uh, which part there, Steve?
If you went back to the how long does it take at the beginning of this section, uh, uh, go back to the all zeros on it,
Oh,
and
okay,
let's see how long it takes me just to cover the upper part of Libby.
okay. And then, like I said, I have some before and after
All right.
shots, which are
So
really
so
look
if we're
good.
only talking about this and covering just her upper section, um, and then not covering anything else, and no one else was covered, you're doing it in less than 20 seconds.
Oh yeah, easy, easy. And I think the logs, it's a possibility that this could have been um, maybe what he was intending. I mean, I know there's could be the odism, that 10 times fast, or was these logs had a different purpose? But yeah, like you said,
But it's important to understand, and the reason they're doing this is that because people say, well, it would take long time. It would take, and that's how come it has to be multiple offenders, multiple
okay,
people doing this. I did
huh,
this by myself in less than 5 minutes, um, and so it doesn't take. And then if you only wanted to cover half of one victim's, less than 20 seconds.
interesting. Okay, so this is gonna continue to play Cindy. I'm gonna Cinders. I'm sorry, doing multiple things. This is gonna blend what the actual crime scene looked like.
And that's
So it looks very similar, and I've got a couple different photos.
yeah, yeah. There's limbs everywhere, and there's leaves everywhere, and that's my property here.
And yeah, looking at that, gosh, I mean, just kind of spinning around. If you didn't know what we'd done and we just showed that first, I almost kind of wanted to do that and say, do you know what we're looking at? But then, of course, I think everybody would probably guess because obviously that's why we're here. And the thumbnail would have gave it away. But um, I mean, that does look kind of natural. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, let me know what you guys think in the chat. I mean, if that, there's so many possibilities what this could have been. Um, that one person, or if there was multiple people, what they were thinking. Um, but if it was just to hide the bodies, but unfortunately it just didn't get finished. Uh, the end result, I mean, especially when they were trying to look for the girls at nighttime, I mean, there's no way,
Hmm.
no way. Um,
It's an individual that was taking advantage of what was provided to him within the crime scene itself, it, using the natural environment and what's there. It's simple as that.
yep. Okay, I'm gonna finish this, and I'm trying to pull that stuff for cinders. back. There we go. Okay, that's the end of the video. Okay, so then I'm going to show some before and after photos. But since you're all here, thank you so much. We almost got 1,500 people in here. If you haven't already, please hit that like button. And we've got a lot more here. I'm just we have somebody in chat that has someone that in their family that just went missing, and so I'm going to go ahead and because we love to get back and help people out, and so I'm going to go ahead and switch over real quick to this, and I'm going to pull up this. So I've got his picture in the next one here. So this is Daniel Baker, aka Marv Ellis, missing out of Redding, California. So anybody watching from California or in that area, please keep a lookout for Daniel Baker. He went missing 9/12, so it looks like 2 weeks, right? About. He's 44 years old, green eyes, brown curly long ponytail and braid hair, 5'6", 120 pounds. He left his home that he shares with his mother, whom he cares for. Daniel was in a negative headspace at the time, but the pedestrian saw him and asked if he was okay. Daniel said he was going to lay on the Ribbon Bridge to look at the stars. His last location was the Harlan Trailhead in Redding. If you have any information, you can call 530-225-4214. And here's a good look at Daniel right there. So we got a family member in chat right now, hoping to find their missing loved one. So anybody watching in that area, please look out for Daniel. So happy to help out with that. And so moving on. Okay, so we started here. Okay, let's go back to this. And let me stretch this out because we got more here. So one of the things that you noticed, because could it be that they were these symbols? Also, I also wondered, did this top branch might have rolled? Unfortunately, I noticed the log. Give major credit to Steve. He had to put this together in a short amount of time because he had other stuff to do, but he did an amazing job. Question I have is I wonder if this log on Libby that's vertical could have possibly rolled. And it was originally something like this, kind of like on Abby, where it was vertical, but maybe rolled a little bit. Also, something that you mentioned, Steve, and that is, you want to go ahead and so Abby had 3 sticks on her, whereas Libby had 4, and you brought this up.
Oh yeah, if it's possibly someone attempting to number of victims, 3 and 4.
Which I think is very interesting.
Well, if I was at a round table, I'm not saying that's what it is, but that would be something that we would bring up and say, what is the significance? And it could be that'd be brought up, and we would look at it from opposing views, argue about it, and of course see if it's possibly there are other victims. And is it a possibility? Yes. We just don't know until the offender tells us exactly why.
Yeah. Just looking at chat here, we've got so much in here. Just, prayers for Daniel, of course, and we'll play the video again. There's a little bit more as well. So here's some close-ups. Oh, I was going to show the before and after, which I think is really interesting. So here's kind of a close-up of Abby here, and then we have a close-up of Libby. And one question I have with this area, now that we know that's kind of pretty close to the actual Delphi area, would you be able to see like drag marks? Would you be able to kind of see kind of what happened where they were originally? I know you could tell by the blood and stuff, but do you think you'd be able to see some drag marks, or would the leaves kind of move?
Yes, I mean, it's not easy to move 100-pound person, let alone someone that was larger. And I believe Libby was quite a bit larger, uh, uh, and so it's not easy, and to move anyone through that. You can take a 50-pound bag, and drag across the ground through leaves. And the leaves in these areas, and you have to look at the leaves that's on the ground here. Of course, this is recent, but I've been there in February to the actual crime scene, and there's plenty of leaves. The leaves had fallen in up in that area. I believe they're a few weeks ahead of what Georgia time is as far as leaf fall. Um, uh, October, November, December, that they're pretty well all the way on the ground, and so the leaves will have been in abundance and available to cover the bodies, and it takes several years for the leaves to turn out to be compost and go back to soil, and so there's plenty of leaves too. That if he wanted to cover the bodies, absolutely, there was more than enough leaves in the area to do so.
Yeah. Lazarus at the mob crew with the middle stick straight and makes an actual symbol. Yeah, and that's why I was wondering if that actually did roll. And that is because, yeah, there's a couple of symbols that you can make out of that one. And if we get time, we'll go back and look at that. One thing I looked up is there's actually 4 for those that might be. I know I'm new to this Odinism thing, but with the runes, there's supposedly like 4 different kind of like languages or rune setups. And I'll show that if you guys haven't seen that. It's kind of interesting. One more question, and then we'll move on to the before and after, which I really think is very interesting. Were were you more likely to see evidence such as fibers and DNA compared to inside and outside? Where are you going to more likely see evidence of this kind of like fibers, DNA, inside or outside? Or
Well, I mean,
which one causes more of a problem? Would you say outside?
no, it really it depends on what type of interactions between the offender and the victim. If that's the type of DNA, if you're talking about some type of transfer during some type of encounter of defense and offensive, that when you have victims and a offender, and then even when you have a victim that has succumbed to their injuries, that and they've been moved, how were they moved? Where would be the natural locations that you would grab or drag a victim by their ankles, by their arms, by their hands, by their wrists? And so those are areas that we would look at. You'd look at the clothing and see if there's tears or the clothing is bunched. If the like the if they wearing certain clothing and it's bunched up around the shoulders, then of course they were drugged by their feet and it bunched it up. There's all kind of little hints and indicators, and also from injuries that if you drag somebody, they're going to get scratches, um, even if you can't clearly see, but you may see that where there's ground. It depends on the surface, but in the
Uh,
leaves, I would expect that you would be able to see the drag marks, and then you would have injuries if they don't have any clothing on, and there would be a lot of stuff that would indicate that the victims had been moved from pretty close, exactly. I believe law enforcement has absolute knowledge of where the first contact and where the first. Now I'm speculating on this for the fact that, but you don't um, have these encounters without some type of confrontation, or when you um, cause certain injuries that results in the death of someone, such as using a knife or some type of weapon, that when blood leaves the body, of course, now we can start tracking that blood trail. And so I
uh-huh.
believe there's going to be an indication that law enforcement pretty well knows where the first contact was of serious injuries,
Uh-huh.
all the way up to the point of where they were taken and staged or posed or moved, whatever that distance is, 10
Yeah.
feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, who knows?
Yeah, from what I'm understanding is it seems like maybe Abby, where the F tree is, because they say that there's a pool, somewhat of blood at the base of the tree. So I wonder, and then obviously that's where possibly the cast off is. So is that where, sadly Libby was attacked in front of that tree? But with Abby, it seems to be a little bit more of a mystery, or we just don't know because they just haven't talked about that part of it.
Well, I mean, it could be that, or it could be that the body was moved in a certain position that allowed more blood to escape through the injuries at that location. That up until that point, she was either in a position of that there was no blood flow through those injuries, but then she's placed there. And is there something else that would raise certain body parts that will provide fresh blood to those injuries?
Yeah. Yes, M4D3. Yes, the dogs were the dogs were coming, and then they called them off for whatever. I know they kind of explained, but yeah, that's a bummer because they could have found him that night, unfortunately. And there is rumors what could have Abby been possibly still alive, but I don't know. I mean, if she was still alive and she was placed there, I mean, I think. Do you think?
Now I know there was K9s at the crime scene. I just don't know at what time they got there, but dogs were used in the search. I just don't know at what time they were there. We got pictures of them being there. So
yeah, well, they said the night before that they were on their way, and then they called them off. Wait until the next day, and then anyway, so here's the before and after. Sorry, we got so much to talk about, and we appreciate everybody being here. We got over 15,000. Once again, if you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're new to Steve, I've got a link to his channel pinned right at the top. Retired law enforcement, it's done forensics. We do these kind of things all the time, especially when there's a trial like Alex Murdaugh. We did the same thing. Had some great results with that. We'll do it again with Delphi. I've already started. But yeah, please go show some love. Also, there's a link to his website if you'd like to make like a sizable donation to his nonprofit organization. That's to our Cold Case Foundation. So it's all linked above there. But yeah, so at the top here is a before and below is an after. So let's just zoom in on the after here. And I mean, if I just pulled this up, I mean, this would kind of look natural. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. But to me, this would kind of just look like, oh, there's just kind of except for this little foot sticking out there. But other than that, in my opinion, if we were flipping through pictures of just some wooded areas, to me, that kind of would have blended in. And here's a wider one here. Let me get to the chat, and then we'll play the video one more time, and see if we can answer some questions here while we're playing it. And sorry, we got so many. I'm trying to get to the super chats. If I miss them, I will shout them out at the end. I'm trying to get to everybody's here. Music Mary says, why do you think the suspect left phone behind, and how did they not see it? That's a great question. Because it was under Abby, along with Libby's shoe. And especially he was dressing her. So yeah, that is kind of weird. Now that you're thinking about that, he was dressing her.
Yeah, and that's one part of the test that we won't be able to do is try to understand some of the clothing of where was the phone, and where was it placed? Is it something that the offender did have in his possession at some point and just bent over and it fell out of a pocket and he lost?
Oh, why he's changing her? Maybe.
Yeah,
sure.
Just how many times have you put something in your shirt pocket and bent over and it falls out?
My phone falls out every time I get in the car.
You just look at those things and say, why is this? If we have this much control of a crime scene, why are certain items in this location? What could have brought them there? How could it have occurred? And so just interesting thought process.
Yeah, we'll play this one more time, and I'll see if I can get to some questions. There's a few more things we've got here, but yeah, we got almost 1,600 people in here. Thank you guys so much for the wonderful support. Geneva, good to see you. Thank you all for your effort. Thank you so much, Geneva. Been with us for a long time. Thank you so much for the support. Um, and just one more time, Cinders, I will kind of keep an eye on what's going on, and I'll be more than happy to feature Daniel again in an upcoming live show if he's still missing. So more than happy to help you guys out. So Lazarus says it's a symbol used often in modern traditional witchcraft. Interesting. Remember how you said when I told you that if you straightened out the one log, it would look. You said it looked almost like a witch broom.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. I think
in the images with the pool noodles, you can see that image real well.
Steve, have you? I'm sure you've been around bodies, and I hate to ask you this, and if it's too much, let me know. Have you ever had to move a body? I know that would be probably uncharacteristic, but being in forensics,
you're quite often.
oh, are
There's a
you?
process that there that you have to check everything from rigor mortis to trying to find IDs. So it's quite common that there will be some contact between the investigators and the victims.
Interesting.
Plus, the ones that's not even, and by the time you ever get into the investigative part of your career, prior to that, assisting EMTs and Rex and everything else, by the time you get on into your career, you've been around hundreds of bodies, and you have helped moved and assist, and even during the trying to do CPR, not everybody makes it.
Yeah. Um, does it? What's the? I think I looked this up, but rigor mortis that can set in. What's the earliest you've seen that set in? I've seen like
There's
2 hours.
Specific time, a lot of variables on it. It has to
Right.
do with temp, and but it immediately starts, and then within hours, short muscles, long muscles, and then it leaves the body in the right opposite of it. And there's a lot of variables to it, and it's not just saying easily that yes, at a certain point, the short muscles or jaw muscles are going to be certain things and locked down. But there is a certain time frame within it with a general temperature. But there's a lot of things that play in it, and you have to do that, have that, and before you can give a qualified answer.
Okay, just looking at chat. Yes, Carolyn from Unearthed Secrets. She's our helps us with some of our cases, and yeah, she's the scientist, and she has her channel. And if you'd like to check her out, the link is there. Music Mary. Oh wait, we already got this one. I'm sorry. My apologies. I'm just trying to make sure we get to some of the chat here. And we'll look at those symbols one more time. I actually got all of them up. There's literally 4 different ones here. So I'll pull those up here in just a minute. And yes, please, if you haven't already, please hit that like button. It does help us. And especially it helps us, because we always feature the missing people. And sometimes, a lot of times, they're current missing people, just like this lady in the chat here who we're trying to help. So if this video goes, semi-viral, then that helps get Daniel out there, who is currently missing. Just looking at
this one test, like I said, being able to lay the sticks on there and looking at it from all the way from 360 perspective, looking at from different angles, distances, and seeing what it portrays. Like I said, a lot made of it, or it could be absolutely random. I just don't know.
This is a great question, Jesse. Steve, in your career, how many times have you actually seen it be a cult? So any kind of cult-like behavior.
Well, in your training part of it, you're exposed to cult crimes.
Okay.
and so there's that in all the investigative and homicides and all that the time spent trying to learn this craft, that they expose you to every type of motivation and possibilities of criminals acting as groups or as individuals. And so from the training aspects of it, I saw dozens and dozens of cases of it. And actually working one, never. I never had to work. Now, there's always where people would bring up that possibility. It's like, people like good theories, they like conspiracies, and they like cults. And it's not that it's, sometimes it's in the training part of it, you could easily see it because certain symbols were drawn, satanic and otherwise. But I just never worked one I can think of that stood out as a cult. I just can't remember one.
But that's a great question.
It is.
Yeah, and Susan asks, why didn't they call the phone to find him? They did, and it rang. That's what's terrible. I think they were even on the bridge trying to call the phone, and it rang. And then I think it actually ended up dying shortly after. So I think maybe she was low on battery, but it did
Yeah.
ring,
In
which is really
14
sad.
seconds, I had the upper torso covered. So if anyone asked that, well, just the upper torso only, that was 14 seconds.
Oh, okay. But yeah, they did call and it did ring. But unfortunately, yeah, no one there to answer, sadly. But I wonder, because they said the bullet was found between the girls kind of in the ground, according to the defense. So I wonder if that was kind of the same thing that, there was a scuffle or he's moving the bodies and maybe the phone fell out when he was clothing Abby. Maybe that's what happened. Because actually, now thinking about it, because it's Libby's clothing, so maybe when he was putting on like Libby's jeans on Abby, the phone fell out of her jeans and he had no idea. Maybe it's like in the back pocket. You know what I mean? So he's putting on the jeans and it fell out, but it's already under. And then of course look at the surrounding. I mean, you've got leaves that could easily just, and then the body on top. So I, that just hit me right then, that her phone could have been in her back pocket, um, and then when exchanging the pants, the phone fell out.
Can't argue the
Possibility.
point. Yep, absolutely.
Justice, thank you so much for becoming a member again and supporting the channel. Really appreciate it. Goes a long way. We've got a lot of cases we're working on, and we'll kind of mention those at the end here. Yeah, I accidentally said 15,000. Yeah, one day, 1,500. But yeah, we're up to 1,600. We're getting there. So yeah, if you have some questions for Steve, we'll try to get a few in here. I mean, we got a lot of people in here, so I can only get to so many, but we'll definitely try.
But that's the crime scene, and I've been there. And I don't know how many times I've been to the area, but November, I've been there in October, November, February, and the ground cover is pretty much the same.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, let's remove this real quick, and I'll pull up those runes here in just a second because I keep saying I'm going to pull that up here, and I want to do that. So let me remove this. I've got so much in here, and here is your video. I'm just going to play it for just a second, but you can just see was this February when you took the
Yes, this
drone?
was within a few days. I think I did that this past February, I believe, is when I
Yeah.
was up there.
Yep.
And I went up there to look at, see what conditions were on the anniversary. And as you can see, plenty of sticks. And I mean, it's what happens in nature.
Yeah, Coca-Cola, this channel has the best people in chat, best mods, and most humble and grateful creator, and also love the content. Thank you so much, Cole. That means the world to me. And it's people like you guys that make this channel what it is and the community that it is. So thank you guys so much. And I don't get everything right. I make plenty of mistakes. I am human, and I am not afraid to admit them because nobody's perfect. But yeah, I mean, look to the left or the right. I mean, it looks just like the environment your Georgia backyard there, or property that's wooded property. Now let's switch over to the runes. I'm gonna just keep that going for just a second. And let me get the rune thing going. Okay, so got that at the stage. So yeah, for those that may not know about the Odinism, where is it? There it is. So there's actually 4 different kind of rune. There we go. Rune letter combinations. And you've got the younger, and I'll probably butcher this, the younger Futhark, the elder Futhark, the normal Futhorc, and the other Futhorc, which is spelled with a C. Yeah. And what's crazy is a lot of these changed the meaning. So here, the Hegel, which is the asterisk symbol. So you got the asterisk means H, Hegel, and that's in the younger one. But if you go, say, to the Futhorc, the Hegel is just an H, and if you go to the asterisk, it means, well, it says gear or harvest, and of course they have tons of meanings. I mean, these are supposed to be kind of a language, so they have like 20, well, 10 to 15 different meanings in there, but they definitely change. So I guess it kind of depends on which one they're going off of. So but yeah, if you were going off this, yeah, there's the symbol, this one here. It does kind of look like maybe like a combination of this M1 here, where it's the long branch, and then you got one outside it here. The only difference is you've got one more going horizontally. But yeah, you could combine a couple of these to make it as well, for sure. And same with this one down here, which I think this one stands for cattle or elk. So you got one here. So who knows? There's still definitely a possibility that this is some kind of odism. I also noticed that this also looks like a 4 if you were to take out the horizontal one. I mean, if you took that out, that would literally just be a 4. So many different things. After doing all this, anything else that you take away from?
Well, like I said, it only looks like certain symbols if you're in a certain position. If you're
True, very
over,
true.
if you're at 0, or if you're at 45 degrees, or if you're at 180 or 270, wherever you're at on the angles and the degrees, it has different perspective, and that's the importance to have it when you can look at it 3D versus just looking at it 2-dimensional, drawed out, and this is the way it looks. And it does look that way from a certain position, but it doesn't look that way from other angles. As you look through the and stop the video as individuals go back and rewatch this, that you'll be able to see that, from over here it just looks like a stack of lamps, and that's pretty much, that's the point of this, was to give people different perspectives to look at, and they may see something totally new. And
for sure.
But looking at it and trying to create something from our recreation really doesn't do justice to the case because we don't know what the actual crime scene looked like.
Right. We're going off what the defense is claiming,
Yes.
and I'm sure it's based off truth, but it's probably twisted in a way that's going to make whatever helps the defense. Harrison says this is not random. Putting a few sticks on someone is not trying to cover them up. These sticks have meaning. I think someone, excuse me, who is just starting to know the runes did it. They're not very good. And it's possible. Totally possible. I'm still stuck on Richard Allen, but in my opinion, I don't know about you, Steve, but if there was a secondary person, it would not shock me at all.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. We know at least one individual says he was there, and he says he was on the bridge that day. And that same individual, through the forensic, has a bullet that has been linked to his residence through a search warrant of a bullet at the crime scene. And so we'll go with that one right now. Could someone else have been there? Absolutely. Do I know for a fact? No. But I wanted to show that even as an individual, it doesn't take a lot of time to do a lot of things that people absolutely say, well, it takes this much time to do this. Now we know how much time it takes to go gather 7 sticks and how much time it takes to cover upper half. That, if you put the 7 sticks together with just covering the upper half of Libby, you're only at what, 3 minutes?
Yeah.
And you're done.
Right. Mr. Steve, you came across bodies. You first started. How was it scary for you at first?
Not, I come off of a farm, and so I've seen my grandfather was a butcher. My father also, we all butcher our own animals. I don't know if that played a part in it, but not that, I had a head start on most of the group.
This is a great question, Kathleen, and I agree with part of this. That's what I'm wondering. If there was no blood from one of those girls, do you think they killed her in the creek, bled her out in the creek, then staged her? I think that may have happened with Abby. That's just my opinion. Because there's just really no mention. It's like she has no blood on her, but yet she did die a slightly slower death, but it was still the neck area, which I'm assuming is going to be kind of a a mess. And didn't it say one of the girls actually had like water in her lungs?
I have no
Possibly,
idea.
or something like that. That
I hadn't heard
that
of.
might be speculation. Don't take that. Yeah, I remember hearing something about that. Yeah, take that with a grain of salt. Let's see. I saw a couple other things come. Sith and Sandals, good to see you. Member for 10 months. That's so awesome. Love being part of the mob crew. Thank you so much, Sleuton, for your support. You are so awesome. Got a couple more things for you guys that I did discover that I thought was interesting that I want to share with you guys. And we'll see if we can still get a couple more questions in. Susan D, thank you so much for becoming a member and supporting this channel. It means the world. And I saw one more. Sorry, guys. A lot of comments in here. Thank you guys so much. There's Tom. Good to see you, buddy. Hello, Chris and Mob Crew. I've been binge watching videos on these updates. Very wild defense, but mostly plausible until we have more data. Totally agree. There's always, I think, Steve. There's always more evidence than what we know, right, Steve? I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
we only have a.
And there's always more evidence than what law enforcement find. We don't find everything. Decisions have to be made at a crime scene to process it. We do our best. We try to be as diligent, but decisions are made and things are missed. And sometimes you look back on it and you just shake your head.
So one thing, and good to see you, Tom. Hope you're doing well. One thing I did notice, so every time I look at this document, I find something else. Because they also put these little fine print things at the end of some of the paragraphs, and because it's a 136-page novel. But there was something that's interesting. It's nothing huge, but so it says in this, it says, find attached a transcript of a statement of Richard Allen's wife, which I'm sure we probably assume that Kathy got interviewed. When Kathy was asked what length Richard's hair would have been in 2017, Kathy said Richard has always had short hair. In fact, when asked for further description of how her husband has always worn his hair, Kathy said Richard, shaved it, explaining that he had always shaved it since being in the National Guard. Very interesting for two reasons. I didn't know he was in the National Guard. Did you?
No, I didn't.
So, National Guard. So, I think that's interesting. I'm sure he learned some basic training, and who knows what else. I'm not familiar. I've never done it myself, but I find that very interesting that he's got that background. Had no idea about that. And then the second part is that he always had short hair, and of course. So was he on the bridge? Obviously, if he was on the bridge, he would have had something what we see now, according to his wife. So it seems after this National Guard thing, he's kept his hair short. But yeah, that shocked me. I'm like, oh wow, never heard anybody mention that he was in the National Guard. So pretty interesting. One other thing I do want to mention, that I do want to give an argument towards the Odinism, is now the defense claims that Alan was forced to confess to his wife by this Odinist group because you've got the group of the 5 people, but yet then they have a group that are supposedly in the correctional facility that houses Richard Allen, and supposedly they were threatening him and said, "Hey, we're gonna um, harm or take a life of one of your family members." So, but this is the problem I have with that. And they said that to get him to confess to his wife. But if this was true, that the Odinist group was threatening Alan and saying that they would harm or take a family member, wouldn't it be smarter to threaten Alan into a guilty plea or a plea deal instead of having the entire operation brought to light with names involved by his own defense team? You know, and wouldn't Alan be in danger now? Like, because now, if this was all true, now they got the names. So just, kind of doesn't kind of make sense. I mean, if they were threatening him, I'd be like, you better plead guilty, take the deal or whatever, and, you know, no harm will come to you or your family. But yeah. So just my 2 cents on that. Anyway, but yeah, thanks again, Steve, for doing this. And let's see if we can get
Absolutely.
to some questions. And if there's anything else you want to share, or if you want me to play
No,
anything.
I'm still got a lot of work to do on this, and I've got some CSI stuff I'm going to be doing and following up on for the rest of the week. But yeah, appreciate you having me here tonight, and I hope that we've not, like I said, I just wanted to make sure everyone understood that there's different perspectives, and looking at stacks of wood that may or may not be random in certain positions create certain images. And from this, you can go all the way around. And like you said, if you took that one stick out, it absolutely looks like a 4. And but when you look at it from another angle, it has nothing to do with the witch's broom or number 4. It doesn't even look like anything, and it's all due to the perspective and the angles.
Lars says, I disagree. If you're going to sacrifice 2 people, you're going to get your runes right. Just saying. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're sending a message, you want to. Yeah, no, I agree
But
with that. I mean, if you went down that way, yeah. Um,
when you're talking about offenders and that they may be doing certain acts for certain reasons, for certain within their own mind, you're dealing with a psychopath that these offenders, that whatever has driven them to take these lives and to, because there's always their fantasy. I mean, we're not dealing with normal people. A person doesn't wake up on February the 13th and says, "Oh, today is my. I decide I'm going to go find me, walk a trail and try to find me a victim." There's things that drives this type of individual to commit these crimes, and they have rituals and they may have signatures, but it doesn't always mean that just because you do something in a certain manner to serve a certain ritual or um, to create the signature, that it has anything to do with any organization. It can be totally within the mind of the offender.
Interesting. Um, Tom says Ari has a fan base on Facebook that says he's innocent, and that's. I'm sure there's people, and they're entitled to their opinions and views, and we respect that. We respect both sides. Like I said earlier, I would not be shocked if there was another player involved. Do I think it's this Odinist group? Yeah, that's a little too much for me, especially now that I've read about this one guy, EF. They say that he's got the mentality of a 7, 8 year old, and that they kind of groomed him into this group. And to me, because the way they talk about that guy, and I talked about this in my last show, I had some issues with that because they said, well, he couldn't remember what he did a year ago. And actually, that's BS because I've had a person with that kind of disability that is an adult but had the mentality of a 7, 8 year old, and his memory was great, off the charts. I mean, every time he'd come over and play with us, he was my older cousin. Um, and his memory was amazing. He'd always tell us, "Oh, do you remember this when we did this and this and this?" Every time he came over, he'd tell us something story that completely forgot. That it's wild. But the other problem with that is, are they going to bring in somebody with that mentality to risk, and then I don't know. To me, it's just a little bit silly on that part. Um, but here, once again, here's the before and after. If this was possibly one of uh, the MO of what he was trying to do, or they trying to do, was maybe try to cover up the bodies, but just didn't get around to it. But yeah, see if we can get a couple more questions, and then I think we've got a couple of updates for what's coming up on the show. We do have Amber Crumb case that we worked on. She's 42. It'd be her birthday today. So
I
thoughts
spoke to
for
Larry
Larry
about
Crumb.
I spoke to Larry about hour and a half ago, just before the show. Spoke with him, and he's this is a bad day for him.
Yeah, yeah. I would think so. It's probably not a day he looks forward to. Little B, thank you so much for the $20 super sticker. Like I said, me and Steve, we split that. So thank you so much. And so we're still waiting on things on that case, some possible developments. We just got back from Dior, and then I am going to be reaching out to Jason Watts, who I just found out he is a PI now, which is awesome. He worked in the Brandon Lawson case, which I've covered on this channel. So we're gonna try to have him on. I don't know, maybe this week. I got to see what his schedule is, but he said he would love to come on, and that's a really interesting case. We've covered it. It's quite widely known. Uh, So we'll probably have him on here in the very near future. Just looking for some questions as we get close to the end here. If you turn the asterisk on Libby to include her bent leg, it would create a symbol. Yeah, I mean, you could definitely with the combination of the two, with the bodies and stuff, I'm sure you could probably come up with quite a few symbols. And I'm still looking at some just to look at that direction. But do keep in mind one thing I did learn is that this horizontal one on Libby is actually on her neck. And that's obviously something you learned, Steve, is it because it would have rolled. The girl that sat for the young sketch said that they didn't do a good job. Now she said it was a 10 for 10, according to the defense. I don't know. Interesting. Because they mentioned that a couple of times. So another thing, Steve, with the sketches, though, we talked about this before. That's going to be they're going to be going right back to that. I mean, right?
Yeah, the defense has plenty of ammo from the multiple search warrants and from the multiple sketches to you name it. And so the trial is going to be something that sadly, as long as the truth and justice is brought out at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And we just have to see which way it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. If the owners left their signatures at the scene, why not take credit? Yeah, and I guess you could say, because according to defense, there's supposedly these posts by who I'm not going to name their names, and please do not name names in the chat. Just stick with initials. But supposedly that is kind of what they say. That they're recreating. They post Facebook posts about their odinism, and then supposedly some of these pictures reenact what was at the crime scene. So I guess in a way you could say that'd be taking credit if that was the case. But I get what you're saying. Maybe something different. So just going through, let's see if there's any more questions. We usually have Steve on once a week. And like I said, his channel, link to his channel is up at the top. He goes live 3 times a week, even more. And he sits down with everybody and he literally stops his show and answers questions at the end, which is amazing. I tried to do that, but he has his own way, which is amazing. So he does a lot of one-on-one with the people in his chat, which is really amazing.
Well, I have Mrs. Steve that I couldn't, without Mrs. Steve, that would not happen.
Yeah, I wish I had time to get me a Mrs. Steve. So with that, like I said, I've been kind of looking for a question just in case, but I'm not seeing. I do see a lot of love and support. People sharing different theories. Yeah, happy birthday. Yeah, that's a great question and statement. Yeah, because I thought she was kind of like this, where her chest, and maybe like I said, because they didn't quite get one of the sticks wrong, and I mean, it's not a huge deal, but yeah, that's what I was kind of under the impression. It was more like this with Abby. So, this would be an Aleister Crowley type pose. Any leads you can make? Aleister Crowley. I know that name, but I can't picture Aleister Crowley. Steve, help me out. No,
I'm
pulling it up now.
There's so many victims and everything out there. I have no idea.
Okay, so he was a philosopher, magician. Is this the same Aleister Crowley? Mr. Crowley, that's the one of the songs. Okay, I'm looking at it right now. Give me a second, guys. I'm just looking up. Is it this? Oh, okay. I guess that's what they're talking about. Yeah, I remember Aleister Crowley because of Ozzy Osbourne. But yeah, I have no idea. I mean, there's so many different ways you could interpret this stuff. But with that, do we got a happy birthday? Whose birthday? I'll be happy to. Oh, it's the Amber Girl. Okay, I thought there was another birthday in here. Thanks, Blue Water. Thanks to everybody. There's so much. There's so many comments. I just keep scrolling and keep thinking I'm getting caught up, but I don't get caught up. Let me make sure I didn't miss any gifted memberships here. If I did, I'm sorry. I think I got them all. I think we did. So thank you all to everybody that donated. Like I said, this it really helps us out, and we're gonna do some more tests. And I've got a couple other things I'm gonna do with this video, and for Steve, and who knows, we might do another one. I do have a few other questions about the logs and whether something else could have happened with them, but I got to talk to Steve about that. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the show, and it's the only channel I'm comfortable to chat. I like the vibe of the community. Normally I lurk on other channels like my history. I thank you so much, D Smiles. I really appreciate it. And of course, shout out to my wonderful mods, Copper Horse, D, Karen, Jocelyn. I think that's all that's in here tonight. But thank you. My mods do a wonderful job. And so, yeah, I'll be back live Wednesday. I also do regular uploads too. So for those people that like the short videos. And then, Steve, when do you go live? Go ahead.
My next show is tomorrow night, Tuesday at 8:00.
And
And
you
then
go
I go
usually
live on Thursday at 8 and Saturday at 8
Eastern time?
Eastern time. Yes.
Awesome. Okay. And before we go, I'm just going to pull up this picture one more time. So if you missed it earlier, this is Daniel Baker. Just went missing. We have a family member that was in the chat. He's missing out of Redding, California. Missing near the Harlan Trailhead. He went missing about 2 weeks ago. And he's 44 years old, green eyes, brown curly hair, 5'6", 120 pounds. He's got a long beard here. Pull up his picture one more time. If you have any information, just call your local law enforcement. And we really appreciate that. We'd love to get back and help out the community as much as we can. So, Steve, I'll put you backstage. Thank you so much for coming on. Any final words?
Thank you. It's been an honor. Appreciate being here. And y'all stay safe out there, and we'll see y'all soon.
All right. Thank you so much, Steve. Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much to Steve for putting that together. And like I said, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for the support. This is something that we do. We cover true crime, but we also go out and work cold cases as well. So we do a little bit of everything, and we recreate crime scenes. So you get a little bit of everything here. So we tried to do it. Like I said, I'm not perfect. I make plenty of mistakes, but we're all human. So with that, we'll be back Wednesday, And I'm going to go ahead and load up an outro. We also like to feature our viewers' pets. So if you'd like to have your picture of your pet shown in an outro coming up, a live show, email me with your picture of your pet and its name, and we'll get another outro ready. Oh, media for live. There it is. And I think we're going to do this one here. All right, guys. Love you guys.